Are you struggling to make your own game characters? Don't worry, today I'm going to show you my easy workflow that's ready for anyone to create their own game characters inside of Blender. So let's hop into the first bit, which is creating the base mesh. Alright, when modeling my base meshes, I have a pretty set workflow that I do for almost every single one. So firstly, I added a cube and then use auto mirror just to add a quick mirror onto it, deletes half of it, and it saves a lot of time. Then I can start extruding up and adding edge loops to start shaping the general torso shape for my character. If you're struggling to get a good shape, go find some references and annotate over it to kind of get a good idea what shape you're trying to recreate. Then I need to set up some topology so I can extrude out for the arms, legs, and the neck. So basically we just need 3 circles from this base. Firstly, for the legs, take the bottom, extrude it down, and then delete the sides. Then hopefully if you've got an edge loop down the side, which will give you a hole with 6 vertices, and you can take that and then use loop tools and then circle to get a actual circular base that we can extrude the leg out of. Similar for the arm, I go up to the shoulder area and take this, and you can either just add an edge loop so that you have 6 vertices, or select 2 different faces, which again is 6 vertices, inset it, and then loop tool circle. And then you got your shoulder. For the neck, it's slightly different. If you see here, I have 4 vertices. I just go take this and bevel it with a vertex bevel, which you can see creates this triangle. Then I just use the knife tool to take this into a proper circle, and then again, loop tool circle, and we're done. The legs and arms are pretty simple. Basically, you just need to extrude out some vertices, making sure they're all obviously circles, and then add some slight bends for the arms and legs. For the joints of the leg, I like to add in some extra edge loops. Sometimes just having 2, which will just help with the deformations. It's not very realistic to how PS1 characters would do it, but we can take some creative liberties and just get a cleaner look. Generally, the legs from the side view, you'll have a curve in the front and slightly flat at the back, and the calf will be kind of straight in the front and curved at the back. The arm, I like to add a bend, which some people don't do. They kind of make their character a bit too flat and straight, which it just doesn't feel natural for my characters. The feet and hands are pretty simple. They're kind of just some cubes with some extra details. You don't have to worry too much about it. If you want some good references for different hands and feet, you can go to places like Sketchfab, which will give you good references for low poly meshes like that. For the head, what I generally do, add in a cube and then subdivide it with Control and 1. Take it and extrude down the front bit for a jaw. Then I take the bottom 3 faces, inset it, and you can see here we get 6 vertices where we need 5, just to match the number of vertices in the neck. So what I do is I take this part and just extrude it around to kind of create the back of the neck, and that ends up eliminating one of those vertices. And then we end up with a proper thing, and then we can just attach the face to the body. And for the face, I also like to just add some extra details using the knife tool and adding some extra edge loops, so stuff for the nose and like an indent for the eyes, which I find helps sell the whole idea better. So obviously I'm oversimplifying this whole base mesh creation. This took me about an hour to create, doing it real time in the full tutorial, but it is some pretty simple steps, and if you can learn the basic modeling tools, you can create something that is really cool. For the clothing, I have a pretty simple method. To start, all I do is go select a part of my mesh, similar to the shape of your clothing. When doing this, rather go further than you need, because extruding out later is going to be a little bit more difficult. My favorite way for selecting is the C select tool, which is circle select. You can change the size of your selection with the scroll wheel. You can select with the left mouse button, and you can deselect with middle mouse button. And then if you just want to cancel it or just leave, just press escape or right click. Once you've selected the part that you want for your clothing, duplicate it with Shift and D, and then make its own object with Control P and bar selection. Now you got the shape, you can start shaping it up with the knife tool and with the edge slide, which is G twice. Basically, you're just going to try to get it as close to the desired shape of your clothing as possible. Once you've got this, you can just use scaling tools, or you can use the shrink and fatten tool, which is Alt and S. You can scale up different parts of your body, so it's not just a skin tight piece of clothing. Here's when you start adding kind of folds or just parts that are baggier, skinnier, kind of how it would sit on the actual body. And if you need, you can add an extra edge loop to add details like the little cuff bits on the end of this jacket. Once you've done that, you can also just go add in a solidify modifier to add some thickness to your clothing. If you're going to use it, you can also turn on the only rim option. Basically, this just deletes the inside because the default solidify will add thickness to both sides, and it just optimizes your model to delete the inside bit. It's not the closest to PS1 style, but we can take some creative liberties because we don't have all these restrictions that they had. Now, the main thing you have to consider, what parts are going to be model and what parts are going to be textures. If you have a bunch of small little details, especially repeated and all of that, you can just texture it instead of having to model each individual piece. Just kind of use some common sense and think of what would work well with a texture and what would work with a model. Especially in this style, it's usually better to do with the texture unless it's going to be a very different shape to the rest of the body. And for the hair, we're going to have a very similar workflow. So starting off, select your head and just duplicate parts of it and get a sculpt type shape. Then from here, you can use a solidifier to get a extrusion out and add some thickness to your hair. Specifically for my character, it was almost a bun type thing. So I just left the base sculpt shape and then just duplicated the front bit and extruded it down for a type of fringe kind of thing, as you can see here. For the back, I also just did a very similar thing. You can just take one of these edges and then duplicate it. This will make sure that you have all the same modifiers. You don't need a mirror depending on what you're doing, and then just create a general shape of what you want. I like using the knife tool to kind of add some extra cuts and different things to kind of rough up the shape a little bit and make it less uniform. Also remember with hair, it's never going to be 100% symmetrical. It's quite nice to apply your mirror modifier and then just kind of change the shape from side to side. And that is a pretty good thing. If you want to look more into hair, I have a video where I go over quite a few hairstyles. That will be in the description. Okay, before you test your character, you need to add some UVs. If you don't know what UVs are, let me explain real quick. Basically, all the UVs are is you taking your character mesh and doing your best to cut it up and lay it as flat as possible. Think like papercraft, where you gotta get like a little pattern, you glue it together and you get a 3D model. We're doing that, but we're doing it the opposite, because we have to tell the software how we're gonna map our texture to our character. So we get to decide that in this phase. Firstly, we have a couple different things to make this a lot easier for us inside of Blender. What I like doing is turning on the sync selection button. That's this little 2 arrow thing on the top left. Basically, it goes from showing only the parts of the UV for what model you selected to when you have it on, it will show the entire UV selection, and whatever part you select on your mesh will be selected in the UVs. I don't know why this isn't by default. It just makes life a lot easier when UV unwrapping. The next thing I do is turn on the UV stretch option. If you don't see it, basically you have to go to the top bar and just scroll down and you'll see it goes across. Open that menu and then turn on the UV stretch. And then you'll see your whole UVs become like blue, green, yellow, blah, 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 sort of like that. Basically, the darker the blue is, the better it is, or just the less stretched it will be. This is very useful because basically then you can see what parts of your mesh are not looking great and what parts are good. And then that's kind of how you decide where to put each of the cuts. So as I said, very useful. And then the third thing to combo this all with to make it even better is go to the material tab on your object, click the little yellow dot next to base color and add an image texture. Then you'll see it has new and open. So just click new, just leave the default settings except change the generated type to like color grid or UV grid. Doesn't matter really which one, I usually pick the color one. So basically what they'll do, it'll pop up with a specific kind of just a little grid, kind of colors, letters, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of helps when you are trying to figure out if your mesh is being stretched or not with your texture. So these are my 3 things I do every single time I do my UVs. And this really makes your life so much easier. Now, for actually getting your UVs working, what you need to do is first select different parts of your mesh that you're going to need to add seams to. So seams is basically where you add your cuts if you're doing your papercraft analogy. So select an edge and then you can either just go Control E and then mark seam, or just go U and mark seam. Then if you select everything, just go U and unwrap, and then you'll see you've made your first cut on your mesh. My biggest tip for getting your UVs to actually work well is select parts that's like section off different sections. Usually what I like to section off is you have the body and then the head and then the arms and then the hands and the legs and stuff like that. So you kind of section off bits that make sense to section. And especially in the case of like the arms and legs, they're basically just cylinders. So if you get a cut at the bottom and the top, then you just have a cylinder and then you just need to cut along so it lays flat. If you want to look more into this, I have some more videos on UV unwrapping where you can walk through the entire process with me. So speaking of that, if you see this character and you really like it, then you can go get the full guide where I walk you through every single thing you need to know to make this exact character. Go check it out, first link in the description, and you can get 50% off with code PS1 guide, all caps, just like this. Alright, now we've done UVs, we can actually go into texturing our character. So what I do now is, because we're doing PS1, we need it to be a lower resolution image. So I usually stick with 128 by 128 or 256 by 256. The texture paint is very similar tools to every single other brush based thing. So if you've done any sort of sculpting, weight paints, all of that, you'll know the hotkeys. So basically it's just F for size, Shift F for strength, and you're basically good. So just go click in the top right where you can find the tool panel. In here, you can choose your colors, you can change settings, all of that. It's also at the top, but I usually just like using the whole panel. It just makes your life a lot easier. So here is obviously where you pick colors. So when I'm picking my colors, half the time I'm just sampling directly from the image, and other times I kind of just estimate it or pick colors that I think will fit the character. What I do to start is just go to my base mesh and then select different parts and just kind of block in the colors. So basically what you can do is select different parts of your mesh, and then if you turn this little option off in the top left, it's like little square things. Basically what it does is it only lets you paint on those sections. This is very useful because then you can just mark each section off and only work on those, and then you don't have to worry about any color spill or anything like that. And obviously picking your colors every single time you need to use it, or trying to pick it from your character or your texture every single time you need it again, because you paint this color and you paint that color. Oh no, now you've lost that color. This is where you get the color palette. It's just directly below that color section. Just open it up and you click plus, whatever color you have selected will get added there. Now, usually what I like doing is I pick a base color, and then I pick a shadow and a highlight. Then you can basically lay out your base color. Then any parts that need to be darker, you can obviously add the shadow bit, and any part you want to highlight or just like make it a bit better, just add that highlight to it. I find this is really good for shading, especially in this PS1 style. Another way of doing it, which is quite cool, is basically if you see I start painting like this, you see it's just a base color. So what you can do is go to the control panel, go texture, click here, click new, click on this little icon to go to editing this, change it to clouds. And now if we start painting, you'll see it's quite dark. So what we can do is we can go colors, color ramp, open that, and then just drag that up. And I'm just going to bring this to like a light gray. And then you'll see now it kind of like, it just has a little bit more texture while you're painting, which is really good in the style. Okay, once I have this base shadow and lights and all of that, what I like doing is adding in all the extra patterns and details and all of that stuff that I need. So for example, the shirt, laid down the base yellow color, added some shading in, and then I started adding this like crisscross pattern to it. With everything else, again, you can just add your little details. Stuff like the shoe, I had to kind of paint it all in manually, kind of whatever pattern I wanted. It's not too difficult. It's basically just know what kind of shape you want to go for and just paint it in. And then if you need some shading to it, do it. Another tip that I find quite useful is changing the brush's fall off. Okay, so when it comes to brush fall offs, all you have to do to change it is go here, click on fall off, and you can see right now, this is what my brush currently looks like. And if I go paint a color, you'll see that's an ugly color. When I draw it, and depending on the size, it will basically have no sort of, there's no smoothing between that color that's painting down. Whereas if I go to the fall off and kind of bring it out like that, so usually it's kind of something default like there. Depending on the brush size, you'll see like the edges will have more of a kind of fall off there. So you can see like a smooth, you're more likely to get kind of smooth edges and stuff like that. That's kind of the main difference. And basically when you paint with the pixels, like you can also just kind of affect how it looks when you are painting over there. Alright, the next thing I need to do is the rigging. Basically, rigging is just stand up a bunch of bones, and this is how you get your character to actually move around. So what I like doing is using a rigify base mesh. Basically, this just kind of sets up a simple human character. You have a couple different bones, like the little pelvis ones, the breast bones, and these are ones down by the feet. Just delete those, and then what I'm going to do is just add in some extra bones for the fingers and thumbs and all of that, and then we're good. Basically, the reason I use this is just so I can get some extra naming and all of that, because going through and naming every single bone is a lot of time, and there's no point in it if I can save that time. It requires a slight cleanup, so you could just make it from the start by yourself, but yeah, it's completely up to you. If you enjoyed this video and you are interested in this character, then click the first link in the description and you can watch the whole tutorial. And as I said, you can get 50% off with code PS1 Guard. So if you're not interested in that, then click over here to learn more on rigging. I'll walk you through how to make your own rig from scratch.